Hello and welcome to Chemistry 103. This is called Chemistry in Context or Chemistry in Society. My name's Annette Tomry and I'll be your instructor through this course. This is different than any chemistry course you've ever taken most likely because it's how it affects our lives. It's what's important to us. So instead of focusing on math and problem solving, we're going to focus on the society. We're going to talk about how it relates to our lives. Now, to be successful in this course, I strongly recommend you taking the time to read the textbook. The textbook is a very valuable resource. I'm providing these videos mainly for those who are auditory learners. So I realize that there's several different learning styles out there, and this is to try to help with all the different learning styles. In addition to the videos and the book, we also have discussion forums. The purpose of the discussion forums, not only to give you more points, but also to help you internalize the information that you're learning about. This first chapter, which is actually chapter 0, they start with chapter 0, is a prologue. It is all about the generalities. It's giving you an overview of the entire course to try to grab your interest, so that's where we're going to start. Now, shifting baselines. Many people have never heard of this term, but it's actually something that's really common and that you can think of in your day-to-day lives. You may have heard the phrase, things aren't the way they used to be, which is unfortunate. Think about how when you've talked to your parents or your grandparents and they complain about the price of milk or the price of bread or the price of gas. That's what they mean by it's not the way it used to be. For normal, we consider at this point that paying $3.50 for a gallon of gas. Unfortunately, we consider that normal. When I was growing up, it was normal to pay under $1, around like 96 cents or so. So the baseline, what we consider normal, has changed. And that's what they mean by shifting baselines. Baseline is what we compare things to. And the fact that it's shifting, for instance, economically, is increasing. When we talk about changes in the environment, unfortunately, they're changing for the negative. So what we consider normal today was not what we consider normal before. For instance, overfishing has created a problem where fishermen can no longer find the fish to gather up. They used to be able to make a good life by being a fisherman. Now they can barely break even. Some have even resorted to doing luxury or doing tours and like taking people around with boats rather than actually fishing. Another one is forestry. We've cut down so many trees that they don't grow fast enough. And so what we consider normal back then, where forests were everywhere, now we consider all of it for farming communities and for the cities, urban areas to be considered normal. So the choices that we make can actually make a big change with what we're going to see in the future. It's not just the government. The government creates different policies. Industry, because of those policies, have had to make changes. Marketers have to change the way that they present a product. But we have to make our changes too. We have to make our conscious decisions to help our Mother Earth. So let's take a look at the word sustainability. It's ensuring future generations have the resources they need for survival. So what we mean by that is our book defines sustainability as meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. So in other words, we need to be able to survive ourselves, but we also need to make it so the people that are coming after us, our children, our grandchildren, they're able to still survive. And the rate that we're going now, that's not happening. So let's take a look at this figure here. This is the three-way measure of success. We have ecosystems, economies, and communities in this graphic. The green zone here is where if they can all overlap, that's where we want to be. We want to be situated where we're good for the economy, we're good for the communities, and we're good for our environment. And that's called the green zone. Way back when, industries only focused on economies. They were worried about the bottom line. They were worried about the economic bottom line. They were worried about making a profit, which is fine if you're one of the people who own the company, but then we have the communities coming together, the human rights activists saying that, you know what, I'm glad you're making a profit and I'm glad I have a job, but you need to pay me more, you need to give me health benefits, so on and so forth. And so that's where the healthy communities came in. So now we had this area here covered. However, ecosystems, the environment, doesn't have the luxury of someone speaking up for them. So that means that as humans have to speak up for the environment. It's like the silent party. It's like the little baby in the nursery that can't tell somebody what they want. We just have to kind of speak for them. We have to guess. So our plan here is to actually make this a healthy area as well. The companies are going to take care of their bottom line. They're going to take care of their finances. We have to make sure that the communities are taken care of and the environment. So let's look at this thing called life cycle analysis. This is actually how the government and how industry are trying to figure out how much their product is hurting or helping the environment. So we have two scenarios. We have cradle to grave and cradle to cradle. What they're talking about is the life of the product. Is it going to keep going, or is it going to be put in a landfill? Well, our book gives in order to get the plastic that goes into the making, we have to drill out crude oil. Once we drill, then we have to refine the oil. Once it's refined, then we have to separate it into the chemicals needed to make the bags. Then we have to make the bags with those chemicals. Then we have to ship those bags to the stores. People always forget about the transportation because they're burning fossil fuels for the trucks. The rubber on the tires, all these little things that go into transporting it from one area to another. And then we use them in the grocery store, and then we transport them home. Now this is where you come in. This is you. You have a choice between does it go to the grave or does it go to the cradle. If it goes to the grave, that means you just simply throw it away in the trash. And then it gets put into a landfill and it stays there for at least 1,000 years before it can break down. Whereas if you take it to a cradle, what they're referring to is you're reusing the bag. You're either recycling it or you're reusing it and then recycling it, and that bag then becomes the starting product for something else. And it starts all over again. So it's up to you to make that choice. Do we want to put it into its grave and hurt the environment, or do we want to reuse it and keep the cycle going? Now, scientists and engineers are actually using this method right now to determine the product's ecological footprint. I have no doubt that you've heard of the phrase ecological footprint. But it's one of those terms that everybody uses and not everybody truly knows what it means. So let's break it down to what it really means. Your book defines ecological footprint as a means of estimating the amount of biologically productive space, which includes land, water, sea, and the sea, necessary to support a particular standard of living or lifestyle. So what that means is if we were to be able to survive in a whole lifetime, these are in hectares, we would need 9.7 hectares, which is the same as 24 acres of surface area of the earth in order to provide the food, shelter, the lifestyle, the driving, the fossil fuels, everything that we need to survive the way that we like to survive. We need 24 acres of land in order to do that per person. If you look at the comparisons, that is far more than any other country. These are just some examples. The global average 2.7 hectares. That's 6.7 acres. That is far less. That is 25% of what we use. So we use way more than anybody else in the whole world. If we keep doing this, you notice here we are at 2012. It already takes us 1.5 Earths, or 1 1/3 Earths, in order for us to survive the way that we're living. If we keep going, we're going to need 2 Earths in order to support our living by 2040. However, it is not too late. We can still reverse this process, but we have to start making better choices. Chemists are doing their part by encouraging green chemistry, which is a very important term. You're going to see that term come up a lot in this book. Green chemistry is the design of chemical products and processes to use less energy, produce fewer hazardous materials, and use renewable resources whenever possible. The desired outcome is to produce less waste, especially toxic waste, and to use fewer resources. This is on page 12 of your textbook. So essentially what we're trying to do is make things cleaner, make things safer, use less energy and less hazardous materials. We want to make it less corrosive to our lives. Okay, so this is just the beginning chapter. I hope it helped you realize that you can make a difference in that chemistry really is important to you. You do not need to be a chemist to understand it. But by better understanding it, you can make better choices for yourself, your family, and the future of the planet.